Alrighty guys, welcome back to another video here. Today we're going to be working on showing you guys how to make the McLaren MP4 A-8, which was driven by Senna. So someone requested me to show you how I made this, and I'm basically going to go over the difficult parts, which is making the body. Everything else should be pretty easy. If you guys have other questions on how to do stuff like the suspension, the wings and stuff like that, let me know in the comments. I can show you guys how to do that as well. I do have another video that goes over that, I believe, but it's obviously on like a newer formula car. So anyways, let's get into it. So let's see, I'm gonna make a new one here. So yeah, we'll save that. Alright, so we're gonna start off with our cube here. I'm gonna find my images. So what you're gonna want to do is find a blueprint showing the front, top, and side, and the back if you can find it. But let's see what we got here. Okay, not sure where I saved it, so I'll take you guys through finding one. Let's open our Explorer here. Alright, so we're gonna search let's do that. Then we're gonna go into our images. We got a few here. Let's see. Okay, so we got a few different models of the McLaren MP4 here. The one I made was right here. This guy here. So that's the one we're gonna go with. We are gonna save this image as. We're just gonna save this. I'm gonna go desktop, Blender, and blueprints. Alright, here's our folder. And that's saving as a GIF, which is not great. So we'll open this in a new tab. See, that's still saving as a GIF. Alright, Blender doesn't like GIFs, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Gaizo, which is a screenshotting app. You could also use desktop screenshot, you know, whatever works for you. I'm just going to take a little picture there. And oh, did not mean to do that. Save image as. Slap that in there, just like that. Get rid of that. Alright, then I'm gonna get rid of this. Pull all these pictures up. Let me see. Okay, so I've got a few reference images here, which I'm going to be looking at on the other screen. I can't show you both screens at the same time, but if I'm looking at something I want to show you guys specifically what I'm looking at, I'll drag this screen over. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab our saved picture, and we're just going to drag and drop. There we are. Alright, so before we start, I want to stay a little bit organized at the top right here. So what we're going to do is create a new collection, and I'm just going to title this images. So anything that's not a model, we're going to put it in there. So grab that picture, slap it on in there. Alright, nope. Alright, and then the other thing I'm going to do before we get placing everything, I'm going to come down here to the object data, this guy right here, and turn transparency on, and I'm going to put that at 0.5 so I can see through it. And then I'm also going to turn perspective view off on that. It's a personal preference, you don't have to, but that's what I like to do. So we're looking at the side of the car here. I'm going to scale this image up a little bit. Alright, so I'll do that, and so I know where everything is in relation to this cube. I'm going to put the top of the cube right here at the top of the intake, bottom of the cube right at the bottom of the car, and then I'm going to just drag this to the front there, and drag this to the front of the intake there. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste this image. I'm going to press R and press Z and type 90 on the numpad. Whip that guy around, press 1 to go into our forward view now. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to settle just about there. It's not going to line up perfectly. There's always a little bit of variation, but you want to get it as close as you can. So I'm going to press 3 again. I'm going to copy this image again, paste it. I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis this time by 90 degrees. If we press 7, we're going to look at it from the top. That's actually pretty much already lined up. We just need to center it, just like that. Beautiful. Now we've got our images, and we can get to work on the model. So how I'm going to go about this is I'm going to make a simplistic model, and I'm going to use Subdivision while I work on it so I can get the shape I'm looking for. So techniques should be the same, low poly or a more detailed model if you're using the subsurf like I am. Drag that back there. Alright, so we're going to start off with our cube. And I'm going to start in the front of the car. Or, actually, I take that back. I'm going to start the cockpit, since this is typically the most complex portion of the car, because you got your intakes coming out, and you got the cockpit going into the nose, and you got a lot of interesting shapes. So we'll start there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a control loop, do Control R, and get it centered down the middle from the front to the back. Just tap enter twice so it's centered, and I'm going to delete this left half from looking from the front. And then we're going to click on a wrench on the right side. We're going to add a mirror modifier, and we're going to add our subsurface division. I've set that at 2, render at 3. Alright, so I'm going to start. Again, this right about here. Alright, so we're going to start with making our intakes to the upper intake here. So basically this back portion. We're going to start with that. So I'm going to add a control loop right here where the cockpit ends. I'm going to drag this back a little bit. I'm going to press 7. I'm going to turn the subdivision off to make this a little bit easier. We'll add a control loop right here at our intake. And I'm going to drag this in right here. Drag this up to the edge of the car. Then I'm going to take these 3 vertices, I'm going to press E and press X. Oh, I take that back, I'm just going to press E, I guess. And drag each one of these into position where this intake is. And then to straighten out this back edge, I will press S, Y, and 0. I can do the same with this. Just make that nice and straight. Okay. So then what we can see here is we have this line right here, which is where that upper portion starts coming up on the car. That kind of goes into the lines of the cockpit a little bit, so I'm going to try to make this follow that as best as I can. And then what I'm going to do is right here, make sure I have this correct. I do. I'm going to extrude this up to the top of the intake, and because we have the mirror modifier and we just extruded on the center line, it's going to create a face right here. We do not want that, so be sure to delete that. Oh, wrong thing. There we go. This probably looks pretty funky, but I assure you it's going to look a little bit more normal in a minute. So I'm going to put a line right here because we don't really know what comes after this, so we're going to have to deal with that later, but we're going to work with what we can see. So I can see it's right there, and this comes in right here, add a edge control loop right there, put it there, and we'll just add one more, just like that. Okay. And it looks fairly decent. So this is where we need a picture of the car. Let me see if I could pick one up. Okay. So here we go. This is that line where, let's see if I can shrink this a little bit. Here. See if I could show you guys. Alright, so this line right here that we got here is right here. You can see the shadow a little bit. It's a little bit easier when it's bigger to see. Right here is that edge right below the intake right here, and it needs to kind of come up. It comes in and then comes up, so we're going to need to recreate that here. And then in the front it becomes a nice arch there. So that's what we're going to be doing. And that image, you just need to make sure you're looking at the right type of car, because quite a few different McLarens with the same paint scheme and everything are going to come up, so you just need to be sure of that. So alright, let's begin. Here's your little swoopy thingy. I'm not sure how to describe that exactly, but we're going to follow that. Alright. I'll just add one control loop, put it right there. And then I'll add one more right there. It's okay that it's blocking now because Subdivision will do its magic and help us out there. I'm going to extrude this out one more. If we have to delete that center face again. There it is. Cool. So what we're going to do is press 7. There's our line right there. So I'm actually going to change this to kind of follow that contour line there. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing G, and if you double tap it, it'll follow the line, or the edge I should say, which is extremely useful. Okay, so now that we have that, it needs to come in and then it needs to come up. So what we're gonna do, see how we're gonna do this. We're gonna have to add another edge, so we'll just put it right there. And then I'm gonna grab all of these. And then we're just gonna drag them up like that. I'm gonna press S and Z, flatten them out, just like that. And back here, drag this up just a little bit. Get a little bit of separation there. Okay, and if we add subdivision, that looks like a giant blob. We'll fix this later. Okay. Add a control loop right here. And it actually gets less pronounced, this little ledge here, as we move forward. So I'm going to drag that sort of like that, drag that up a little bit. I'm going to drag this up to the top. The car right there. Same with this, that needs to go there. And then add a couple control loops here. Okay, now we got our nice little cockpit shape. It needs to be rounded out. So I'm going to add one control loop there. Drag that down a little bit. Grab these two vertices, drag that down a little bit. Get it nice and curved. Get that kind of rounded out, and then if we take this and extrude it forward, just right there. Okay. Now I'm gonna drag this out just a little bit more. I'll add a control loop right there, because you can see the little elbow right there. Okay. Now we can start working on the back end of our upper intake here. We can just drag this down, drag that down. Oh yeah, in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, to get this nice little circle here, I'm pressing C, and then if I click and drag, it'll highlight everything that it goes over. So very useful tool for doing this stuff in a timely manner. Let's add subdivision. I'm only going to put that to 1. I'm going to take this and I'm going to extrude it all the way to the front so I don't have to keep deleting these faces. Let's see, do I have another one? I do have another one there. Get rid of that. Scale that down, drag it down. I'm not going to leave it like this. This is just to give me a little bit of an idea of how this is going to end up looking. Okay. So a couple sharp angles. I'm going to show you how to sharpen this out. So this entire line here, not that one, not that one either. Alright, not that one. This can be a struggle sometimes. Alright, so that line right there needs to be fairly defined, so I'm going to do Shift E, and if you drag out, it'll make it sharper or less sharp. So I'm going to put it right about there. This line needs to be sharpened as well, so I'm just going to drag that up a little bit like that. Alright, for the intake, all 4 corners of this guy should be sharp. And then sharpen all this. Can sharpen that out. Maybe not that sharp. Let's see, we still want a little roundedness about it. And then we can add control loops to give us a little more control over this as well. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. So this guy right here, these two lines need to be sharpened. And if you sharpen that, that looks fairly decent. Okay. Now for the intake here, obviously it needs to be hollowed out, so we're going to press I with these two faces selected, and that's going to make an inset face. Just drag it in so there's a little lip there, and then press E, extrude it into the car. Do that, and there we go. So I'm going to turn Subdivision off so I can see this a little better. We want all this to be pretty sharp in here, so I'm going to highlight all the faces and Shift E, sharpen all those. And then to fix these corners, just grab that edge there, sharpen that. That's nice. Alright, we'll go with that. Alright, so for the back of the car, we're just gonna round this off here. So I'm gonna extrude this back end one more time. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the front, delete the face in the center. If I can find it, there it is. There's one of them. Gotta hide the mirror modifier so I can get them all. Oh, pretty light now. Look at that. Alright. So in the back of this car, if I press 7, you're going to be able to see it a little better. I'm actually going to drag this here. This is where the intake stops, and then it becomes fairly flat except for this little square lip that kind of pops up. So I'm going to take all this, scale it together, drag it down just like this. Make it as flat as I can. It can be this can get very complicated very quickly, so don't be afraid to move things around. Clean it up now, because if you let this get a little too wacky, it's gonna get really confusing really fast. I'm actually gonna drag that there. Drag that right there. Okay. So then when we have this, I'm going to extrude it one more time, all the way back, which is right here, the forward part of the wing. So we're going to delete the face in the center. Okay, I'm going to hide the subdivision so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, this I don't like all that much, so I'm going to raise these up. Take this and drag it in. Flatten that out. So what we're doing is we're making that rectangle here, and then these need to become flat. And oh, nope. There we go. Drag this in here. So these need to be on top of each other. So I'm gonna actually make this a part of that rectangle, just for the sake of good geometry. So we could just take these in like that. these, drag them out, just like that. In the moment of truth, turn subdivision on, see what that looks like. Okay. Press 7. Here comes the fun part. This is where we take all these outliers, I guess you could call them. I'm going to drag all this in right here, actually. We're dragging all these in to match the contour lines of the car, so we're following this line right here, this light gray line. This black portion here is actually, here I can show you. It's actually this right here, which obviously we don't want it to extend all the way up here because that would look a little bit weird. So let's add a control loop right here. Drag that out, add one right there, drag that in. You want to do just enough to round it out, but you don't want to overcomplicate it. I think that looks decent. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen everything on the back end here, just like that. Alright, so now that we have that, we're going to deal with the nose. This is fairly simple. It's very similar to making the aircraft, if you've ever done that with some of my other videos. We're just going to highlight some of the vertices. Not sure why that didn't highlight. We're just going to drag it into where our blueprint is showing the lines of the car. We'll add some controllers. So add one right here. And we're going to need this to follow the car on the side first, and then we'll do the top. Excuse me. Alright, we'll press 7. Space this out a little bit. Alrighty, there's our body of the car. There's a few more things we have to deal with. That skirt on the bottom that I was talking about we have to do. So if you see, I intentionally left a lip right here, and that's because we're going to extrude the bottom down, and you will see why we're doing it that way. So we're going to do everything. Let's see, before we do this, let me see if I can find a good picture of the underside of this car. I guess this will work. This will show us what the nose does anyway. Alright, so the nose comes up and down, and then you have the underside skirt that extends forward. So we're going to need to be able to recreate that. So we're going to start by getting our nose shape correct. So it should come up. Like, that's the nose right there. That line right there. You can see it. Right there. That. So we can kind of guess where it needs to go. I'm going to shrink that down a little more. I'm going to put it just about like that. That's what I'm going with. This is one of those where you can go into more detail, find some pictures of the car. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do that, call it good. Alright, so for the underskirt, we want to extend right where the nose starts to come up. So this face is going to be the forward face that we're choosing, because the nose starts to go up there. And we're going to highlight everything on the bottom of the car, just like that. Press E, and I'm going to press Z to make sure it comes down straight, and just extrude it right there, and then Shift D, make it completely flat. Hide our mirror modifier and get rid of all these faces. This can be a little bit tedious. There we go. That looks pretty good. Alright, so now you can see we have this line of faces at the bottom. That's what we're going to use to extrude outward where we need it. So on the front, grab these and we're just going to extrude it forward. Probably right to about there. Select these outside ones, just drag that in, add a control loop back here, add one up here, and then now add one here. Bring that back. Cool, we'll leave that. Alright, for the back, we start right here, and everything back here, that's what we're selecting. So I'm going to select that, so I know to start at this face. Click that one, everything all the way back. Like that, press 7. Then I'm going to press E, just extrude it out a little bit, S, and then press X and press 0. And just drag that out a little bit. Just like that. Alright, so now we're going to do the same thing we did with the car. We're going to follow this line right here. So I'm adding a control loop right there. Select all these, just drag it in. And then I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to click on that vertical line right there. You could click on any of them, but it'll select the entire edge loop, and I want that to be flat, so Shift E, drag it all the way out. This right here also needs to be flat, so I'm going to hide that so I can see it. Select all these and flatten those. Okay, I did make a mistake here. You don't want the vertical lines to be selected, so let's undo that. Just shrink back down, go into our line selecting mode, and I can select the edge loops based on the lines. Cool, that looks pretty. We'll do that. This. Do about this. Here's what we're going to do about this little lip here that I have accidentally created. We're just going to drag this back to create a little slope. Select these two lines here. Flatten those. Good enough. Okay. So, what we have left for the body of the car is the cockpit. Fairly simple. I do the same thing on my aircraft. We're going to select everything that needs to be essentially hollowed out. Should be everything up to there. Let me. Okay. I'm going to press. I'm actually going to apply the mirror modifier first. Okay. So you apply it, and then we're going to press I. We're just going to inset that a little bit. Now I'm going to press E, I'm going to press Z, and we're going to go straight down. And then I'm going to press S, I'm going to press Z again, and I'm going to press 0 on the numpad, flatten that out. And yeah, there we are. To extrude the front portion where the driver's legs go, I'm going to add a control loop here. Select the faces on the front, and just extrude those forward. And then you can use the Shift E technique to straighten these out a little bit. And then if we use our smooth, shade smooth, there's our chassis, I guess you could say. So anyways, hopefully this helped you out a little bit. I'm going to stop here because going through everything would probably be either a super long video or a multiple stage video. If there is other parts of the car that you want to know how to make or other questions, I'm happy to answer. You can find me on Discord. Some of my videos, I'll put a link in this one, have my Discord server in it. So anyways, if you guys learned something, like, subscribe. Hope to see you guys in the next video.